haven't talked in front of a big group of people in a while, so I'm hopefully going to shake off the nerves here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be able to share a little bit of my, I don't know if it's expertise, but I really enjoy what I do. And I'll tell you how this started. One of my clients, Michelle, who I don't see here today, was moving into a home in West Barnstable. And we also just moved recently. So we were living parallel lives, but anyways, she wanted me to help her with her spaces. So I did quite a lot of work in the interior spaces for her. And I was really excited. She joined this women's group, just trying to get to know people in the area, and brought the idea up. And I said, I would love to be able to do that. So when I spoke to Lisa, she said, we'd like to talk about incorporating antiques into coastal design. And somehow we got off on a tangent about this coastal grandmother. And I had actually never heard of coastal grandmothers. So I'm a coastal grandmother, even though I'm not a grandmother. Most people on the Cape probably have a touch of coastal grandmother in their house. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to also talk about incorporating antiques and other cherished pieces into interiors. So let me see if I can figure out how to get to the next slide. Right here. Of course, it's not. Hold on. This is what it's. So it's right here. Perfect. Okay. So just to tell you a little bit more about me. So
this meeting is being recorded.
I did go to school for apparel design and manufacturing. So with a love of fashion, it was an easy progression for me to go towards interiors, because it's the same. It's fabrics, it's textiles, it's knowing a lot about what fabrics do in the home, how they perform. And so, that's been a really easy transition for me to go from fashion into interiors. I started working at Ethan Allen. It'll be 8 years next month. And it's a hard job. It's a really hard job, but I do enjoy working with people and doing different things every time, and never do the same thing twice. So that's always fun and challenging. So this is me at work. A little bit about what I do. When we meet with clients at Ethan Allen, we talk and we learn a little bit about what's important to them in their homes and what they want to change or improve. So one of the things that I can do is a home call. We do complimentary home calls, go out to the client's house, ask questions, take pictures, and then I do measurements. And from there, I can invite the clients back to the store. We do 3D floor plans in the store. We have nice technology. So I can project a giant floor plan onto a screen for a client to look at. So we can look at it flat, to look at space planning, and then sort of like HGTV, you see on a screen, you can walk through the room and actually see your room with Ethan Allen furniture in it. So this is just a picture of me in front of my big screen with one of the floor plans that I worked on recently for a client. Somehow I had a before and after picture, and I forgot that in my slides. I won an award this last year. So this is me with my little trophy. So I was going to tell you a little bit about me. We moved to the Cape. It's been 22 years, I think we've been on the Cape now, originally from Chicago. My husband is in the picture here. This is Joe. He's in the back with my daughter, Peyton, my 16-year-old. We've been married almost 30 years. So we just moved, as I mentioned, from Centerville. We were in Centerville for 22 years. Now we're in West Barnstable. So not a far move, but learning a little bit more about 6A and new restaurants, and very sad to hear that the Barnstable Tavern burnt down. Peyton just had gnocchi there and was really excited. But anyways, this was a trip that we took this last year after COVID. We decided it was the year of fun. And so we did a lot of traveling this last year. So this was in Greece on Santorini. And then my other two little fur babies, the top one is Ginger and the bottom one is Eenie. So pets are a big part of our life. So we're going to get into Coastal Grandmother. Before we do that, I wanted to ask a little bit about the audience. So let me see, I had some questions here. So who's a native to Cape Cod? Just one? Born and raised? Yes. Anyone else born and raised? No, we're all Washashores. Peyton, oh my God, Peyton, you are a native Cape Cod. Oh my God, that's so amazing. It really is. I'm a Washashore. So everybody else is not from here originally? Oh, I love England. What part of England? Wonderful. I went to school in London for a semester. So one of the trips that we took a couple of years ago, I took the girls to London just to see kind of the stomping grounds where I lived and all the beautiful things, and love the royals. So anybody in the audience like to cook? Anybody hate to cook? Anybody like to eat? Okay, good. Like to drink? So you'll notice in Coastal Grandmother, there's big glasses of wine and lots of plates of food, and that's part of the aesthetic. So we're going to talk about Coastal Grandmother. Like I said, I didn't know this was a thing. It's a thing. So this started on TikTok. There was an influencer, Lex Nicoletta, the summer of 2022. This whole thing ballooned, and it really applies to the Cape and how a lot of people here live, maybe not everything, but lots of different aspects. So this movie, Something's Gotta Give, with Diane Keaton, I'd actually never seen it, so we watched it last night. It's a fantastic movie. It's a love story. But a lot of the elements that are in that movie is a really big part of what Coastal Grandmother is. So not only is it an interior thing, like if you watch that movie, people said you'll die for her kitchen. It is really beautiful. Everything in there is slip covered, beautiful linen drapes. She has baskets of seashells, natural elements, all of those things that, you think of when you think of a coastal home. But it's also worked its way into clothing. So you see her wearing a turtleneck, the chunky sweaters, linen pants, flowy pieces, button-down shirts, floppy straw hats. And I love the little picture on the bottom corner, because that to me is like Dowse's Beach. You see people with their, big sunglasses and the little kids running around in their hats, and it just feels very familiar. So some of the other things that come up with Coastal Grandmother are Ina Garten. I don't know if anybody has any of her cookbooks or watches her shows. That she lives in a beautiful home. It looks very coastal from the outside. I don't know about the inside, but so there's lots of different trends that started with this influencer on TikTok. If you Google it, or if you look up YouTube, you can find all sorts of things. Again, we had the playlist going. That whole soundtrack is Coastal Grandmother. And I did find a video yesterday of Jimmy Fallon performing a song. He's got Jane Fonda in the video, and she's modeling straw hats and different things. So if we have time, we'll try to bring that up for you. So Coastal Grandmother, really what it's all about is it's referring to a relaxed, elevated way of living. The aesthetic follows through from interiors into clothing, into dinners on the beach, and really this whole aesthetic and vibe, you can feel it in everyday life. Summer beach reads, there's a beautiful book here, Summer Houses by the Sea, plates of pasta, I mentioned Ina Garten, even Martha Stewart, lobster bakes on Cape Cod. So those are all quintessential Coastal Grandmother vibes. So as I mentioned, I didn't know this was a thing, but I sort of live and breathe Coastal Grandmother. I have a client on Nantucket, and I didn't know that that's what we were going to do. And now when I look back at the pieces, I say, oh my gosh, I did a whole Coastal Grandmother house without even realizing that I was following some trend. So these are some photos. Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, I think so. I don't think we have any rules about that. If we do, Lisa will pipe in. Yeah, you can absolutely take pictures, and I'm happy to give you copies of the slides if you like. So this is part of one of the rooms in the house in Nantucket. What you'll see here is Oceanside Minimalist. It's very open and airy. We have natural hues on the walls in the fabrics, and then we're adding textural elements. So this feels, even though it doesn't have seashells present, it does feel very coastal. So this is kind of a larger view of the house, the dining room leading into the office, leading into the living room. And again, grandmother coastal, white walls, natural elements, neutral hues. So very soft tones. It just feels very easy and relaxed. And again, that's sort of the vibe that, you know, is trending with this whole thing. So here's a bigger shot of the living room. So light-filled rooms, the light wood furniture, colors of the sea and sand, really important in coastal grandmother. Textural elements in the furniture, the window coverings, and the accents. We have muted artwork and again, neutral hues. And you'll notice I'm repeating some of the terms over and over, and that's just to have it sink in. So when people are learning a new way, it helps to repeat things so they stick. So this is the bedroom, the master bedroom. And again, the beddings in soft tones, cotton and linen fabrics, light painted furniture. And this one does have some seashell prints up on the wall. So again, very coastal, colors of the sea and sand and the sky. This is the relaxed basement room. So again, you'll see we've got sisal carpet, so that natural element, soft tones, a mix of different textures, and the colors of the sky and sand. So what I wanted to do was kind of relate this to maybe your own homes and how do we do that? So we talked a little bit, or I was asked to talk a little bit about how do we relate maybe pieces that are in our home that may or may not be antiques, but they're old or they're cherished. I don't tell clients to give those things up. I love those pieces in a home. And I think that's part of what makes it special and important to, you know, my clients, is to keep the things that are important in their homes. So how do we do that? How do we incorporate that with new pieces of furniture? So in this picture, this is just a really simple white wall, blue door, a piece of chinoiserie on a table. And then you see a natural sisal carpet and a basket. So let's say that this mirror was an antique piece, something that you'd had for a really long time. It's the perfect way to incorporate it with a new white piece of furniture, or take an old piece of furniture. I hate to say paint it, but sometimes you do that. You want to give it a little fresh look. Other times not. I love dark wood pieces mixed with bright white and black pieces. So this is, to me, kind of quintessential Ethan Allen. This is our Eastgate chest, but to me, what it represents is something in your home that might be an antique, an old piece of dark wood, and it's paired with, again, chinoiserie, the beautiful pottery, a piece of art that could be cherished, fresh flowers or silk flowers. You'll notice the flowers I have on the table over there, those are silk. They are not real, but they look real. So if you're not into gardening, not everybody is. My manager, Stephanie, in the back has a real green thumb. I do not. So for me, silk is way better. Again, this is another one that I love. This is Ethan Allen's Quincy bed, but it reminds me of a lot of beds that I've seen in clients' homes, the old poster beds, you know, the chunky wood. And again, pairing that with potentially an antique dresser or a new dresser. So if you have an old bed and you put a new dresser with that in a painted finish, and again, this looks like a vintage piece of artwork. This all works together. Add some collected linens. Some people like to gather things at shabby chic stores. I love that whole vibe. So again, sort of mixing all of those elements together. So this is sort of a take on what do we do when we need a new sofa. So this is a beautiful new, let's say somewhat contemporary sofa, but it's covered in a white slipcover. And my nod to coastal grandmother would be the wingback chair. Maybe you have a wingback chair that you love. Potentially you could use that in this space or recover it in maybe a more current fabric. Add that with some of the natural elements that you see in the picture. And it really has a beautiful curated, that's a curated look to me when we mix old and new. And then these are some of the other ideas that I had. Now, some of these things you might have in your own home. Molly, I think I've seen some things like this in your house. Molly is here. She's Peyton's first grade teacher. I didn't know she was going to be here today, but she has like the perfect coastal grandmother house. She's got beautiful, cherished objects in her rooms. So if you look and see some of these pieces you might own, a buffet, a break front, a pine hutch, a pine dresser, and there's some pieces that are maybe like I have a collection of pictures that my grandmother started. So I have those pieces displayed in a cabinet and other places in my house. But you can mix that with some old art, some seashells, some collected pieces like the coral, and really come together with this beautiful curated look. The picture on the bottom left, you can't really see, but there are some sailboats there. So I love that feel. I think it's very fresh and beautiful to have the sailboats mixed with kind of these formal pieces. And you see that they all work together. So, you know, again, it's sort of bringing your own style into new pieces and old pieces and finding that flow. So that's actually somebody in the audience was asking me about moving into a different home and what should she bring and planning for the future. And that's another thing that I do with clients. So we look at objects that they might have in their house that serve a purpose, but how do we incorporate new things to make it function better for them? So hopefully I didn't skip anything on my slides. Now, does anybody have any questions about what we've talked about? No? Did you enjoy Grandmother Coastal? Does anybody have Grandmother Coastal in their home? Yes, yes, good. Could you see incorporating that into your house? Or do you have a different vibe or question?
I like for them to be on the wall,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't see any pictures in there.
That's a really good question. You could definitely do a gallery style display of photos. And I've done that with clients before. In fact, I've done it with photos. So sometimes the easiest way to do it is get your frames to somewhat coordinate and decide if the pictures are going to be black and white or color. You can incorporate both, but sometimes the display looks better if it's all the same. You can also add art with that. So I did one for a client who had some of her children's art, beautiful abstract paintings, black and white photography, and we did a whole gallery wall and it turned out beautiful. So it's absolutely something that you can accomplish in your own home. And yeah, and I think it's important to have those things displayed. So I have a pine hutch that I bought on Facebook Marketplace. And one of the reasons I did that is because my kids have made a lot of pottery in the years. And I wanted a space that all belonged. I mixed a few other objects, but it's a lot of their pottery. It's found objects like birds' nests. I love birds' nests and feathers. There's seashells on that. It maybe has a predominant colorway like white, and I really love turquoise and sea glass, but it's a way that I've found to kind of put all of our collected, important, cherished pieces together. So you can absolutely do that with photography. And that's a really great question because I do think family photos are important to have around. So good question. Anybody else? Yes?
I have a dark mahogany dining table and a couple white sideboard, which is great for storage and for the buffet. It's useful. And I had a Simon Pierce bowl and I put seashells in it and put it in the middle of the table at the dark table. And it just seems like it needs some kind of underlayment. It's too stark a contrast between the glass and the dark. So I'm wondering, how do you soften, say something where, and I have a bunch of them now, my house is all like vanilla.
Love to hear it.
Yeah, you know, it goes back 50 years, Georgian port, and you know.
Again, love to hear it.
And I have even now, and it's oval, it's got a glass top on it, and you set something on it, and it just looks cold
Mhm.
on that glass. So how do you soften those things you might want to put on the dining table or whatever? What underlayment do you?
That's a really good question. So the first thing that comes to mind is if you look over at my display table, you see that piece of fabric on the bottom, the little striped piece of fabric. That's literally a fabric remnant that we had in the store. And I wanted some sort of something to bridge everything together. So instead of using a tablecloth, you could use a piece of fabric and sort of tuck it and make it look special, and then place your objects on top. You could also do a table runner, like if you didn't feel.
Just really struggling with how to incorporate the seashells and the glass and everything.
Yep. So no, that's a really good question. So that's another piece that we can do. We do a lot of custom work at Ethan Allen. So if you think of adding pillows or draperies to a room, we can also do fabrics in other ways. So that might be a table runner or a special piece, and we can coordinate the rug if you have draperies in the room already and tie all those elements together. But sometimes it's layering things to give it that punch. So you might just be missing that little, just that little piece that ties it all together. The way you described it was beautiful. Like I had a gorgeous image in my head of this mahogany table. I love that with a white painted piece, add your seashells. So I think we could help you, just maybe kick it up a notch. Does that answer your question?
Transition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, believe me, it's much easier for me. It's easier for me to do it for other people than for myself. My family watches me struggle with that all the time because it's special to you, right? That's your home and you want to make it important and you don't want to make a mistake. So I understand that whole process, but that's why it's easier for me to do it for clients and not myself. Yeah, of course.
Use brick art, race art. Everything in the room is painted. All the woodwork, everything is themes are natural, like light golden oak. What do you think about painting a naughty pine wall, the color of the other walls? Would you do that?
I would do that. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would. Again, I don't want to scare people when you say paint a piece of furniture or paint a wall, but sometimes to, again, give you a change, you have to do that. If there's too much of the same in the room, too much of the same is not a good thing, right? We need a little bit of sparkle or something to really elevate it. So I wouldn't be opposed to painting another pine. Yeah. Yeah. Good questions.
For pictures, framing can be expensive. Is there a framing place you work with, or is there on website?
So we do it at Ethan Allen. We do have a program where you can put your photographs into custom frames. So we do custom art as well. So we have a program where you can look at art pieces, but it's very similar for the photography. If you want to incorporate pictures, and then we can mat and frame them for you. And so it's a pretty simple process. Yes, you can DIY some of those things, but if you've ever tried to put photos in frames, it is not easy to get all that right and straight and get the fingerprints out of the glass. I'll leave that to an expert. So yeah, that is a program we can do at Ethan Allen. So yeah, if you want to pop by. So that's what my slide says. You've got to come and see me at Ethan Allen. Please, please ask for me by name, because if you don't ask for me, you'll get somebody else. Yes, Molly.
You're doing this because your grandmother before I know this. I've always thought and said to friends, tell me when it looks like you live in a house, because we have all these things that everything is stored, and yet when you go into now and or to other similar retail spaces,
you feel as though there's such a difference that it's difficult to see how to incorporate it, but just the simple things you're saying, it just, sometimes it's just a lamp and some pillows and some, a piece of fabric on the table. Mm-hmm. And I just love that you identify that,
Thank you. Yeah, no, well, I mentioned Molly's house. She has a beautiful home. And you don't have too much of anything because you can tell as you walk through, the pieces tell a story. It's one of the best part of my job is like getting to go into people's homes and see things and learn about them and have them tell you stories. But Molly's house is one of those houses where you walk through and you just feel awestruck because she's shaking her head no at me, but I hope that people would come into my house and feel the same way. They look around and they go, oh my gosh, look at that. What is that sea turtle on the shelf? My daughter made it. So, but.
Like it means something, but after a while, I'm thinking about it. I decided to give myself permission to change it white and have it covered in a white fabric that I wanted. It's like in the middle of the living room in a place where everyone gets to see it and ask about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a perfect example of having something that you cherish. You've given it sort of new life with fresh paint and fabric, but it has a story behind it. So I think that's important in your home. So, and sometimes things get tired and they get worn out and it's time for new furniture, but I never want to say like, let's get rid of everything in here and start over. I would rather ask you what's important and what you'd like to stay and incorporate new comfortable pieces with those. So, well, this has been so fun. Anybody else have any questions?
I'm not a grandmother yet, but at some point I will be, I hope. And grandkids are messy, and sometimes things are messy. And so I have a reluctance to buy, I guess, nice things because I'm afraid they're just going to get ruined quickly. Do you have any advice in that regard?
Yes, so that is a fantastic question, and that's a question we get every day at the store. So one of the things that's become really popular and important is high performance fabrics. So your fabrics are liquid repellent. So that makes them not only like if you spill a cup of coffee or red wine on something, it will literally sit on top of the fabric. So let's say, you've got chocolate. It's not a liquid. How are you going to get that out of your fabric? So basically you'd wipe away any excess, wait for it to dry. You can go at it with soap and water on a high performance fabric. And that fabric is going to, again, repel the liquid. So that is one way that, in the industry, we've made things a lot more useful and you get the longevity out of them. They're easy maintenance because you don't want to be a slave to your furniture. A lot of people like white, but they're so afraid to go white because of that reason. So these fabrics give you that, flexibility. Other things, we have a protection plan that we can put on any of our furniture. It covers clients against incidents. So that's another way that we sort of protect your investment at Ethan Allen. So it's not something we coat the furniture with. It's more an accident happens and someone comes out to fix it. So, yes.
Well, I didn't see item maybe with the distress look. Is that kind of going out of fashion?
No, I love the distress look. Okay. Let me go back. So at Ethan Allen, we do have finishes on particular pieces of furniture. I don't have any of them here, but that are very distressed and they have that vintage appeal, which is one of the things that I love. In fact, most of our finishes have some level of distressing. And again, it's not, so it doesn't look like kids' furniture, that stark kind of plain painted look. That's not what we do at Ethan Allen. So yes, I would say the distress finishes are still very, very trend forward, and they can be incorporated with other things that aren't distressed. Again, you know, too many things that are the same, not a good thing, but mixing pieces is a good thing. So good question. Somebody else had their, yes.
Good way to incorporate it. We merged two elements of furniture and that's something to the Cape Cod. I have this wall with piano that I don't have yet. So it stands out in the chance for it. But is there any way to kind of bring that?
Yes. So my grandmother was a pianist. So there was always a piano in some room. In fact, my mom inherited a baby grand. My mom doesn't even play the piano. So in that case, I would say if it's on its own wall, if you had room, you could do a gallery style of art or photos around it, and then add, you know, again, something beautiful, something cherished, a piece of pottery, some seashells on top of the piano, and sort of, instead of it standing alone, incorporate it into the space. I mean, I would love to see photos of someone playing the piano. One of the things my grandma had was she collected plates as well, and along with her pictures, but one of the plates, forgot the name of the, it's blue and white pottery. Maybe, is it, do you know what Delft is? Is it Swedish, Danish, Dutch? Okay, I think that's what it is. There's a baby sitting on the bench of the piano with a woman. And to me, that was me and her playing the piano. So something like that, you know, something that relates it to your family would be a great way to incorporate it. And what color is it?
It's red and brown.
So I would chalk paint it. I hate to say it, but I would chalk paint it. You can go on Pinterest and see people who have painted pianos and given them a completely new life. I mean, unless you actually love the finish that's on it already. Yeah, so chalk paint. No, any color. So chalk paint just goes on top of existing paint. You don't have to sand it. You don't have to prime it. The chalk paint goes on whatever's there and it sticks, it adheres. So the idea is the chalk, it feels a little dusty. You go back over with wax and then you soften the paint. But yeah, I think that would be a really kind of fun thing to do. It would be a fun project. So yeah.
I've been looking at a couple of companies on the Cape that will recover, you know, chairs or couches or whatever. Are there any companies on the Cape that will refinish furniture? Like if you're not feeling too handy to paint your piano.
Yes.
So is there someone that does that?
Yeah, so we can help you with both of those things. So Ethan Allen has a reupholstery workroom. So if you have something that, again, you cherish and you want to have, you know, give it new life, it needs new cushions, new padding, new fabrics, that's something we can help you with. And then we actually have an Ethan Allen tech that went into business. He's no longer working for Ethan Allen, but he does refinish and repaint furniture. So he's actually fixed some of my pieces. I had a beautiful end table that's discontinued. It's an opalescent pine. Ethan Allen doesn't even make this anymore. And my dogs scratched the top of it looking out the window. So I had this gentleman, I don't know how he did it because this is a really special finish, completely redid the finish, fixed it. And then we had a nightstand, an Ethan Allen nightstand that got wet and got a little hairline fracture in it. So I had him help me with that and repaint it. So yeah, we have sources for that as well. Any other questions?
You ever run into a situation where you work with a client and you absolutely do not incorporate one of their inputs?
No.
You never have?
Nope. No. So part of my job can be very challenging. And I love a challenge. That's something that does come up. But I can't say that I've had a situation where we couldn't use something that a client loved. So no. Do you have lots of antiques at your house? Yeah.
Grandmother, parents, all gone. And less so on my husband's side. But there's one piece in particular. It's an unusual piece, but it really doesn't fit anywhere.
It's fighting.
It's fighting.
Yeah.
And it's unusual.
So I stuck it in the large bedroom, and it's okay.
Okay.
I just quite haven't figured out the right thing.
You can send me pictures, or I'm happy to come and see it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Like I said, we do what we do. We do home consultations. So that's part of the job. It's hard sometimes to, talk and get pictures on a phone and really understand what the space looks like unless I come to it. So that's one thing that is really helpful, because someone can really describe something. I might have this completely different idea of what they're talking about. And when I see it in person, I'm like, oh, okay, now it all makes sense to me. So
There's a fee for your.
No, it's a complimentary design service. What we hope is that you're intending to buy something from Ethan Allen, but it can be something small, an accessory, a lamp, a new rug. It doesn't have to be a whole house. So again, people that don't have an artistic eye, they get really stuck and they don't want to make a mistake in their home. That's something that, I can help with. Anybody else? Well, this was great. I did not expect so many questions, so I'm really excited. I just wanted to say thank you for having me. What an honor to be able to come and talk to people in the community, and I appreciate your time and you listening to me. We'll probably stay for a couple of minutes. I do have goodie bags for everybody, and if you want to take a book or something home for a friend, you're welcome to do that. So say hi to me afterwards. What? Oh, and we have a drawing too. I forgot that. So I have little slips of paper. You can fill out your name, address, phone number. We're going to put them into a vase, and we're going to draw one for a gift certificate from Ethan Allen. So, oh, and a throw blanket. I didn't know that part. Yay.